welcome back to Serie A Spotlight. We're your hosts Jake
and Matt.
You know what time it is?
Jake and I will have a very special soft spot for Salernitana.
we love now.
This might be bad.
But your group has really some characters in it, no?
Ora naħseb.
Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode 210, where I, your host Jake, will be covering all the events of Matchday 26 in Serie A. I am normally joined by my biological brother Matthew, who could not make it this week due to an emergency involving his cat, and I can see that he is in the chat. He's just dropped our ribeye. Yes, one of the advantages of becoming a patron nowadays is that you can watch our pod live every Tuesday before it comes out, actually. So that's pretty cool and exciting, and I must say I'm a little bit nervous to be doing this alone for the first time. So yes, moving on. This match day had quite a lot of drama, and it was quite depressing for those who are not Inter fans, to be honest. Inter have gone 10 points clear. Milan, Napoli and Juve all lost. Roma, Atalanta and Como won, and Fiorentina are finally out of the relegation zone. Please stay tuned till the end of the episode, where we'll be going through our Serie A Spotlight Fantasy Football League. The prediction series, of course, will not take place this week, and we have a voice note from one of our followers who supports Parma, so that will be very interesting. I'm very excited for that. I actually haven't had a chance to check it out, so we will be watching it for the first time together. So apologies if he drops any slurs during that. This week we can go to our goal of the week. Actually, might as well do that from the get-go. This week was quite short of high-quality goals. The one that really stood out to me was Cagliari's goal versus Juventus. Of course, that was the goal that made it 2-0. It was a beautiful counter-attack. Just a few direct passes up the pitch that eventually led to a square ball to Cagliari to tap into an empty net. It was absolutely beautiful. Berardi had a similar goal against Hellas Verona, his second one. It was a lovely touch by Loriente, who unleashed Berardi, who, of course, if he's one-on-one in those situations, no matter the angle, he always seems to score. Voivoda had a nice goal against Juventus, even though Di Gregorio is quite literally a chair. Yeah, Voivoda had a nice little roll with his right foot, and he curled it with his left foot. Lovely week for Voivoda, I must say. I think he's ovulating or something, because he played really well this week. Indica had a nice goal against Cremonese. Granted, it was a corner from Roma, but Cristante had a nice bit of skill as the ball was coming in to flick it on to Indica to head in his first ever Serie A goal. And that is that. I think we can just jump straight into our formalities over here. Give me a moment while I set this up. So yes, here we go. So I would like to give a shout out to our media partners, Benevo Bid. You can check out the link in our bio to bid for autographed items from top players, including match shoot kits. You can tell why Matthew normally does this. If you check their socials, you can also find real footage of the players signing the merch. The merch is very, very cool. We normally have some behind us, but at the moment the auctions are live, so we actually don't have any in the studio, but they're normally beautiful. We've had the likes of Grosso, Materazzi, etc., to be honest. It's beautiful stuff. Most of the proceeds do go to charity, so it's a win-win situation if you decide to purchase any of these. Our analytics also show that a bunch of you cheeky monkeys are listening without actually following us, so please do follow us, like our content, leave a rating, leave a comment, go bananas, basically. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and rate us 5 stars on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, as it really helps us to grow and keep bringing you weekly content. We are the only English-speaking Serie A podcast to do weekly episodes covering every single team, every single match, every single week. If you really love us, do become a patron. It is $3.99 a month and you get many benefits. You'll be added to a group chat with 50 plus like-minded individuals who are all obsessed with Serie A football. Match days will never be the same. You will also be added to a fantasy football league, and the winner of that wins a free kit. And now you can also watch us live on YouTube. So yeah, do stay tuned for more and do become a patron, please. It really helps us to grow. So yes, I think we can get the ball rolling with the Inter game, to be honest, of course. But before we do that, actually, happy birthday, Sam Marks. Your stalker has let us know that it is your birthday. So happy birthday to you, my brother. And we would like to see if you're working on something recently, any models of stadiums. Please do send us pictures because those are absolutely amazing. Speaking of birthdays, Sam Marks, your birthday is actually between mine and my brother's. My birthday was on the 4th of February and Matt's is on the 27th February. Yes, right now the conspiracy theory is that Matthew missed out on this episode because Milan lost. But yes, we will have to confirm that next week. So yes, Lecce 0, Inter 2. This was at the Via del Mare, and Inter kept their title charge on track with a very professional 2-0 over Lecce, but it took quite a long time to actually break the hosts down. And this was just after Inter really struggled and lost 3-1 away from home to Bodo Glimt in freezing cold conditions on artificial turf against a team that is very tactically capable, that plays a very narrow game. If you watch the game, it's so narrow, it looked so crowded down the middle. But every time I watch Bodo Glimt play, I'm super impressed, and their stadium is actually quite a fortress to go to. Definitely not easy, very intimate, small but loud, very, very tough to play there. During that game, they lost Lautaro Martinez, who was injured for a month, which gave Milan fans a little bit of hope, but then Milan, of course, couldn't do their part and couldn't beat Parma whatsoever. So for Inter, Çalhanoğlu and Barella were suspended for this game. Of course, Dumfries was still out, but he is in the squad for the return fixture against Bodo Glimt, and of course Lautaro was also out. Lecce, meanwhile, arrived on the back of 2 straight league wins, but were still missing the talented Berisha and the young gun Camarda. As for the lineups, in goal for Lecce was Falcone, as they lined up in a 4-3-3 formation with Vega, Gaspar, Gabriel and Gallo at the back, Gandelman, Ramadani and Koulibaly in midfield with Pierotti, Khedira and Sotil up front. For Inter, it was a 3-5-2 formation that saw Sommer in goal, Bastoni, De Vrij and Bissek at the back with Henrique and Di Marco on the flanks, Sucic, Zielinski and Frattesi in the middle with Thuram and Pio Esposito partnering up front. So disaster struck early for Lecce as Gaspar injured himself blocking Thuram's shot inside merely 35 seconds, forcing a substitution, which saw Seibert coming on. Would hate to be in Seibert's shoes. You just sat down, you're cozy on the bench, you're warm, and then all of a sudden 35 seconds and you're going to have to go up against Pio Esposito and Thuram against Inter, one of the deadliest teams in the league. Yes, so F's in the chat for Seibert. I've always wanted to say that, Nathan. F's in the chat. Yeah. So Inter dominated the ball. They had 68% ball possession, 24 shots, but Lecce's structure actually held pretty impressively, which just goes to show how much Di Francesco has grown as a manager, despite back-to-back relegations. Seibert made a huge goal line clearance to deny Luis Enrique early on, and Falcone kept Esposito out twice with top-class saves. Di Marco thought he had the opener 51 minutes in, but VAR chalked it off as Thuram's shoulder was offside in the build-up, and the breakthrough finally arrived in the 75th minute. There was a Di Marco corner, which was flicked on and fell to the substitute Mkhitaryan, and he swept in a half volley through a crowd from 14 yards. This was a massive moment for the Armenian, as he hadn't scored in Serie A since 2022. Massive for him. Inter sealed it 7 minutes later. It was another Di Marco corner, of course, right? Death, taxes, and Di Marco, basically. This was another set-piece routine, and this time it was Manuel Akanji's turn to rise over everyone and tower into the far top corner. This would be, I believe, his first goal in Serie A. Correct me if I'm wrong. Bastoni picked up a yellow late on, which rules him out for the match against Genoa, but Kivu immediately subbed him off to make sure that he's available for the derby. Inter walked away with their 9th consecutive victory in Serie A, with Milan losing to Parma. They now sit 10 points clear at the top. And I want to take a moment over here to highlight Inter's set-piece superiority. Now, of course, football nowadays has very much become corner kick routines. It has very much become crowding the area and trying to get these high percentage goals, these cheap high percentage goals. In fact, we'll be discussing this very same thing in a few minutes when we're talking about the Milan game. However, Inter have been doing this for a while, and it's something that they have become expert at. They've got many people who can deliver the ball. They've got the likes of Çalhanoğlu and Barella who can cross, and Di Marco, of course, who's got a wicked left foot. And they've got some fantastic defenders and jumpers in general. I mean, we're used to seeing as well Dumfries, who's the wing back, dominating in the air as well. This is something that Inter have done very well in previous markets, prioritizing players who are dominant in the air and who can actually deliver the ball. And when things are going tough on the pitch, when things aren't working out for them, they always have this as an outlet. And you can see through this game that they managed to get it done. Kivu's subs were spot on, to be honest, immediately making an impact. Yeah, and Lecce, although being defensively resolute, could not defend against their set pieces. Falcone delivered once again. He was very impressive, so we have to give him a shout out for Lecce, despite the despite the nothing. Falcone is a hero over there, and he seems to show up season after season, and his priority always seems to be, I want to stay in this division. I want to stay in Serie A. I had seen a documentary of him a few, I think it was 2 seasons ago, where he said that that's his priority. He wants to prove that he is a goalkeeper who's ready to start in Serie A, and I think he's come a long way since then. I think he is an established Serie A goalkeeper, to be honest with you. And if Lecce do go down, I believe that he will be one of the most sought after goalkeepers in the league, be it as a backup for a big team or as a starting goalkeeper for one of the smaller teams / mid-table sides. Yes, 13 wins and 1 draw for Inter in their last 14 games, muting Lecce's attack and doing this one with ease. They sit at the top comfortably. Let me just pull up the table and tell you exactly how many points they have. They've got 64 points in 26 games, with 21 victories, 1 draw and 4 losses. Those 4 losses came pretty early on, and they haven't made the same mistake. Milan in second place have 54 points, 10 points less, with 15 victories, 9 draws. That's really what fucked up Milan's season, and 2 losses. Yeah, Lecce sit in 18th. They have been overtaken by Fiorentina, despite having the same amount of points. That leaves Lecce with 6 wins, 6 draws and 14 losses. Yes, so we can jump straight to the Milan game and discuss the title race in a little bit more detail. Nathan, I can tell you are laughing. What's good? Yeah. Nathan, our producer, does not understand much about football, but he can tell through reading the room and perhaps the look on my face that this is not good news for me and Matt. Yes, so yeah,
What you call it?
like a Ferrari fan, exactly. Right now, Italians seem to be doing very well in sports in general, apart from in football and in racing, in Formula 1. Yes, unfortunately. So Milan's unbeaten run of 24 league games has come to an end, coming off a midweek 1-1 draw at Como. And now, of course, a 1-0 loss to Parma. What's up, Tyson? You're the man. Parma have actually made it 3 wins in a row, coming off victories versus Bologna and Hellas Verona. They missed, of course, Friggin, Almqvist, Suzuki, Cercati, and Ndaye. While Milan, of course, were quite healthy going into it, but were missing the suspended Rabiot, of course, and Jimenez was out injured. So, lineups, we've got Magnan in goal for Milan in a 3-5-2 formation with Bartesaghi, De Winter and Tomori at the back, Estupinian on the left, Salamakers on the right, Rabiot, Modric and Loftus-Cheek in the middle. Sorry, it was Rabiot who was missing for the Como game, not the Parma game. Pulisic and Leao up front. Yes, so in reality, no excuses for Milan here. Corvi was in goal for Parma in their 3-5-2 formation, mirroring Milan. It was Del Prato, Troilo and Valenti at the back, with Bridgely on the right, Valeri on the left, with Ordonez, Keita and Bernabe in midfield, Pellegrino and Strefezza starting together up front. Now, in the 7th minute, one of the most horrific things I have seen on a football pitch happened as Loftus-Cheek crashed heads with Corvi after a Salamaker's Rabona cross. It was a sensational cross, to be honest with you. He was stretchered off and Yashari was brought on. Pictures of Loftus-Cheek after the injury were actually quite disturbing. He was missing quite a few teeth. His jaw was all fucked. And for the first time, I could tell, yeah, he's English. I could never see it before. Yeah. The season is done for Loftus-Cheek, of course. Big Ruben. I felt particularly bad for him because Matt and I always say that Ruben Loftus-Cheek is not one to go into these 50-50s, and he doesn't really use his frame well. And this time when he actually committed himself, he suffered a horrendous injury and will be out for the rest of the season, and I can't help but feel bad for that. Yeah. Maybe it could have been he listened to the podcast. Yes, he was like, you know what, I'm going to show those two Maltese fuckheads what I'm all about. And yeah, he lost quite a few teeth. Yes, in the 42nd minute, of course, Milan had some big chances. Let's just list them. Rabiot nodded the ball down. Pulisic dragged wide from 15 yards, and I think he should have scored over there. In the 50-something minute, Leao was in behind. Corvi smothered the ball, and the rebound fell to Pulisic, but Troilo blocked in front of an open net. And in the 64th minute, Leao had this acrobatic volley at the near post, which smacked against the post and rolled across the line to stay out of play. And that was the night summed up for Milan. But the jeopardy really came in the 80th minute when Parma had a corner. And this is just a great example of the dark arts in full swing, right? We had Valenti, who wasn't even facing the ball. He was just looking straight at Magnan, blocking him, essentially. The cross came in. Troilo used Bartesaghi. He jumped before Bartesaghi, to be fair, but he did put his hands on him and gained some more of an advantage and headed home into an open net as Magnan flailed his arms around, going, oh, I've been blocked. But the rules were not broken, quite frankly, in that regard, you know. The referee did say, in fact, there was no foul on Mike Magnan, but the foul that I think might have existed was the one on Bartesaghi. Let me know what you think, because in my opinion, he did push down on him a little bit. It would have definitely been soft, but I think it warranted a review, to be honest. I think the referee should have been called over to the monitor, but of course I think they're being extra careful after the incident in the Derby d'Italia. But yes, funnily enough, I can't help but feel that Cuesta out Allegri d'Allegri. He beat Allegri at his own game. They were extremely good at containing, at holding, at killing the ball, and then they used the set-piece situation to really take advantage of Milan's perhaps potentially inexperience, naivety. I was a little bit surprised by the lineup, in fact, for this reason, because you know that Parma are going to sit back and you rock up with 3 centre-backs. Norbert mentioned this in the WhatsApp chat. He said, can't we ever just play with 2 centre-backs and attack a little bit more? I understand the logic in playing Bartesaghi as a centre-back because he can overlap with Estupinian, but at the end of the day, that's still 2 wide players, and Milan's problem this season has actually been having a striker, right? And bringing full Krug on at the end with a bunch of pressure just complicates life a little bit when you could start seeking a goal and actually play to defend it later on. The opposite of what's actually being done. But yes, Bartesaghi, De Winter and Tomori do not scream composure. They do not scream aerially dominant. They do not scream concentrated or experienced, to be honest with you. So, not ideal going into this. So you play 3 centre-backs, but none of them actually give you an advantage in set pieces against Parma, who are incredible at set pieces. Yes, that's very frustrating. Leao not quite looking himself. still can't run. I'm wondering what the hell's going on. It needs to be addressed. Right now, Allegri keeps saying that he's fine, he's playing, he's fine, he's playing. We know he's fine and he's playing, but why isn't he running? Why can't he run? Why can't the striker who is known for attacking the spaces attack the spaces? Why? I would like to know. Yes. And why the heavy rotation, man? Why the heavy rotation when a win was pivotal over here? But anyway, yes. Milan had scored in 19 straight league matches, but they couldn't unlock the mighty Parma, who rocked up with this low block and selective counter-attack and reliance on set plays. Yes, I think Bernabe and Keita were quite impressive for Parma, bar Bernabe's terrible start, because I believe the first three passes he missed every single one of them, but then eventually he grew into the game. And Keita, I believe, is a really nice talent who might get scouted any minute now, to be honest with you, because he is ever so impressive. While I also would like to give a shout out to Troilo, who has really hit the ground running after arriving in Italy, and of course this Parma team in general for being such a thorn in the side for every team they come up against, man. And Cuesta as well, who's my age, managing Parma in Serie A. It's absolutely unbelievable what he's done, this guy, man. He used to actually be a footballer and he retired at the age of 18. Funnily enough, I find it funny that if you stop playing football at 18, they say you retired. You retired from football. I guess I retired from football as well at the age of, 15, 16? But anyway. Yes, he retired and went into game analysis, becoming an analyst essentially, and eventually ended up being on Mikel Arteta's team, and now he's the head coach of Parma at the ripe age of 30. It's absolutely unbelievable, to be honest. It's a stuff of dreams, so shout out to Cuesta, who managed to beat a top manager in Serie A and Allegri, which would be something that, honestly, he can retire from management now as well. It's breathtaking what he's done. Now the media is reporting. I've just seen a report before we hit play over here to go live. Daniel on WhatsApp sent us a news article about apparently tensions between Allegri and the upper management, which may result in Allegri not going into next season as the Milan manager. I think that this would be catastrophic, to be honest, because as opening seasons go, this as a season one under Allegri for Milan, this would have been a great success, finishing second in the league, building something over here, building a structure, and all you'd have to do is bring in some quality players, maybe a centre back or a striker, going into pre-season, give them a pre-season and really push for the title next season after everyone has had experience and kind of understands Allegri's expectations a little bit better. If the management is unstable enough to lose Allegri, that would be a massive failure. And we haven't spoken about Milan's management in a while because things have actually been going well on the pitch. The decisions that they made were good. A sporting director has been put into place in Iglitare. A great manager has been brought in. The Champions League spot has been restored, seemingly, touch wood, because you never know what's going to happen. Everything seemed to be going well, but if this is in actual fact true, what a disaster it would be. Yes, because you can't lose someone like Allegri, especially due to a rift with the management. You've got to keep Allegri happy. And shout out to that article as well that linked Simeone to Inter, saying that Simeone has agreed personal terms with Inter. Last I checked, no manager in Inter's history has ever had a start as good as Kivu has had this season. So I highly, highly, highly doubt that they're going to be going for a new manager. And I highly, highly doubt that they're going to go for a manager who earns as much as Simeone earns for Atletico Madrid. Compare his salary to Kivu's, and that will answer the question as to who will stay on. But yes, that is enough for Milan. Since I don't have Matthew blabbing in my ear, we can move on. I miss you, Matt, Ostia. He yaps a lot, but I miss him. I like the yapping. I like the yappage. I was telling Nathan before we started recording that my role on this is very much... I feel I'm much better when I'm bouncing off someone, and putting me in the spotlight feels a little bit... Speak of the devil. I just hit the like button and it turned into a football. Hell yes, brother. Hell yes. Clipping all the good moments already, Tyson said. Christ, this is going to be an embarrassing one. Good. Moving on. Also, shout out to Bastoni, who was jeered all match after the Kalulu incident, which I found a little bit weird. Like, can we stop this witch hunt? Come on, he dived, okay, whatever. But how does this affect Parma in any way whatsoever? And he played well, and it didn't. He picked up a yellow card, whatever. He'll miss the next game, but he'll be back for the Milan game, and that's the most important things. Fun fact about Lecce: they haven't scored at home against Inter since Cisse in 2022. And this game, they didn't really get close with only 3 shots and none of them on target. So yeah, that pretty much sums up their night. Yes, moving on to a fun one. This is Juve 0, Como 2. This was quite a spectacle, and Juve's free fall continues. Juve right now are not in a good place whatsoever, as Roma have actually jumped them now. Roma currently in 3rd, pushing Juve down to 5th, and Roma being 4 points above them. Terrible stuff for Juve, who better hope that they recover soon. In fact, they are winless in their last 5 in all competitions with 4 losses. They came off a derby loss, a midweek 5-2 loss to Galatasaray, where they got absolutely schooled. And in that game, you get to see Coop Miners scoring 2 goals. And finally, Juve fans were like, oh my God, he's actually decent. 60 million well spent. And then boom, they lose 5-2. They missed Kalulu controversially, of course, Vlahovic, Holm, Bremer, and Milik. Who is Milik, you ask? I'm not sure, I say. David was only fit enough for the bench, which forced them into a back 3. Como hadn't won in Serie A since the 24th of January when they destroyed Torino 6-0, coming off a midweek draw to Milan, missing Paz, Diao, and Goldanega. Di Gregorio was in goal for Juve in their 3-4-2-1 formation with Coop Miners, Kelly and Gatti at the back. Of course, no Bremer, no Party. Cambiaso was on the left, as rumours have circulated once again from top clubs around the world, making you wonder, do these guys actually watch football? McKennie was on the right, Thuram and Locatelli were in the middle, with Yildiz and Miretti starting off the shoulders and hairline of Luis Openda. Boutte was in goal for Como, with Smolcic on the right, Valle on the left, and Ramon and Kempf as the centre-back partnership, with Perron and Dacunia as the double pivot, with Voivoda on the right, the ovulating Voivoda, Baturina on the left, and Kakare playing behind Greek international Douvikas. Okay, of course, the goal came in the 13th minute from Voivoda, who stole the ball after a McKennie mispass, terrible lapse in concentration by the American. He beat Coop Miners by rolling the ball, and Di Gregorio was slow to react at his near post after a deflection of Miretti. Potentially 4 mistakes by Juve players in this goal, not a good look whatsoever. And then the killing blow came in the 60th minute when Kakare scored off a classic counter after a Juventus corner, tapped in from 8 yards following Dacunha's pass. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful counter-attack. Absolutely sensational. This is what we love to see from Como. Coop Miners at the post from a free kick in the 84th minute. Juve did have a few chances. Of course, Jonathan David failed to convert after the rebound. Openda was one-on-one and tried to lob Boutte, but Boutte caught it. Kelly overhit a long ball to Openda earlier on. Excuse me. Yes, the hilarious moment that summed up the Juve game was when Coop Miners gave a lobbed square pass back to Di Gregorio, who headed the ball to Dacunha, who hit the crossbar. That was absolutely unbelievable. And this is a very delicate situation for Juventus and for Spalletti, as an interim manager should not be doing this badly, especially if he wants to be redeemed. I think despite his name being Spalletti and him having the CV that he has, he still has to, of course, earn his position next season, and Champions League qualification is the minimum. So I wouldn't be surprised if Juve go crashing out of the Champions League and they lose their next match, which happens to be against, let's double check that, but I have a feeling, a sneaking feeling it's a massive one. Yes, okay. So Champions League against Galatasaray, they need to score 3 goals. And then they play Roma at the Olimpico, which is a massive, massive game. I think if Juve don't manage to either beat Roma or to progress to the next round of the Champions League, we might actually see an early dismissal of Spalletti, which would be bizarre. But that is how football tends to work nowadays. People prioritize the short term. And to be honest, you don't really blame them when you look at the revenue that is at stake over here. However, it must be remembered that football is more than just a business, and that people need time in any context. In any context in life whatsoever, people need time to adapt. They need time to settle. When you have a guy who has the capabilities of Spalletti, you better give him time. That is my opinion, of course. And I wonder how Juventini feel about this, and I would be very happy if you would let us know in the comments, please. Yeah. How I wish Matthew could say a few words so I can rest my throat right now. Nathan, can you tell me a funny joke while I sip a beer? Put on the spot.
I don't think they're...
They're not appropriate for the show. Never mind. Okay. Never mind. Yeah. Okay. So we can go to the standings. Of course, we have Juve in 5th with 46 points and Como, who continue to push for European qualification, potentially even Champions League qualification. That's how well they have been doing. They are in 6th with 45 points, just 1 point off of Juventus. It turns out all those predictions made at the start of the season, putting Como up there, were not totally ridiculous. They were warranted. Fabregas is a coach with a very high ceiling, of course. Atalanta 2, Napoli 1. This took place, of course, at the Gewis Stadium. And it saw Atalanta's comeback over Napoli really emphasize the balance of power between these two sides and how it has shifted. Okay, we have Napoli going down and Atalanta going up, right? Atalanta have been killing it lately. In fact, they entered this match unbeaten in 8 league games and absolutely flying under the talented Palladino, while Napoli arrived with defensive injuries and no clean sheet in 7 games, which was one of their specialties under Conte. Yeah, not good news for them whatsoever, and this season continues to be a little bit of a rough one for them. Atalanta were also missing De Ketelare and Raspadori. Napoli, the injury list is quite long. De Bruyne, Neres, Anguissa, Di Lorenzo, Rahmani, Spinazzola, and of course McTominay did not feature in this one. But the good news is Big Rom is back, and boy is he big. Carnesecchi was in goal for Atalanta, the ever-impressive Carnesecchi in their 3-4-2-1 formation. Scalvini, Hien and Kolasinac were at the back with Bellanova on the right and Zappa Costa on the left. Derun and Pasalic in the double pivot with Suleiman and Zalewski playing off the shoulders of Kristovic. Zalewski is a player whose progress has impressed me so much, and I had no idea that he would be capable of playing behind the striker, and me and Matthew actually had a conversation about this last week. He's so technical, such a good technical player. Milinkovic-Savic was in goal for Napoli. Our patron, who will listen to at the end, has a beard quite similar to Milinkovic-Savic. It's going to be... stay tuned to have a look at that. 3-4-2-1 formation for them. It was Buongiorno, Juan Jesus and Beukema at the back with Mazzocchi on the right, Gutierrez on the left, Lobotka and Elmas in the double pivot with Santos and Vergara playing off the shoulders of Højlund. Napoli struck first. It was Højlund who won a free kick against his former club. Gutierrez floated in a perfect delivery and Beukema headed it in from close range. This was a massive goal for Beukema, as things have not been going very swimmingly for him, and he needed something like this to give him a little bit of confidence and to win a few of the fans over. Atalanta's man marking was non-existent. In fact, I'm not even sure what the hell they were doing, to be honest with you, because if that was zonal marking, then you were marking the wrong zones completely. just man mark, man. You know, mark a player. Mansplain and man mark and mansplain, guys. Yes, 3 Napoli players, in fact, were left totally free at the back post. Absolutely terrible. Napoli thought that they scored a second when Alisson Santos rounded Carnesecchi and scored, but was ruled out for offside moments before halftime. The referee initially awarded Napoli a penalty after Højlund fell over Hien's leg, but VAR intervened and the call was overturned. Yes, now there were two controversial episodes that involved Hien. This was the one that I agree with. The second half started with another disallowed Napoli goal. Højlund muscled past Hien and squared for Gutierrez to finish, but a soft foul in the build-up cancelled it. Yes, that proved costly, and it was extremely controversial, and quite frankly, I'm not quite sure there was a foul. And this would be, honestly, I can't remember a season as bad as this when it comes to calls. We have another episode in the Torino game which saw Baroni sacked. There was a clear handball in the box that straight up wasn't checked, wasn't addressed, wasn't given, despite all the protests from the players. But anyway. Atalanta equalized in the 61st minute when Pasalic glanced a header into the far corner from a Zalewski corner, punishing Napoli's inability to defend the first zone, and from there the momentum swung completely. Scamacca tested Milinkovic-Savic twice, and the pressure finally broke Napoli in the 81st minute. Bernasconi stood up across from the left. He crossed the ball beautifully. He's got quite a cross on him, Bernasconi, right now. If there's one positive thing about Italy at the moment and the Italian national team is that there are many wing-backs who are very capable of crossing and who run tirelessly up and down the pitch. Of course, Bartesaghi, Palestra, Bernasconi, all being very capable. Yeah. It was Samardzic who sent a looping header into the bottom corner just out of Milinkovic-Savic's reach. Samardzic is a player who is quite well-rounded, right? We know how capable he is with the ball at his feet, how inventive he can be, how he kind of plays that almost trequartista role. But it's nice to see players like this also being capable of scoring in the air. And this header was a very good one that a striker would be proud of. Napoli threw absolutely everything late on, but Atalanta held firm. Juan Jesus and Zalewski picked up bookings in a tense finish, but it wasn't to be for Napoli. Atalanta have now amassed 32 points from the last 14 match days, second to only Inter in form. So watch that space for a Champions League finish, guys. Might be a cheeky bet right now. Check the odds, they might be good. Of course, this is not betting advice. I don't give betting advice, so if you lose that bet, it's not my fault, okay? Take your own responsibility, okay? Napoli, only 25 points in the same stretch of 14 games, and the title hopes, of course, are long gone, and they're probably wondering if the top 4 spot is in jeopardy. And to be honest with you, it kind of is, because there are only 4 points separating them from 5th place Juventus. So they better watch their backs as Juve, Como and Atalanta are charging, especially Como and Atalanta. You know, they are rabid dogs right now. So yes, Atalanta have been doing this thing this season where in the second half they really surge, man. They focus on verticality, wing overloads, aggressive pressing, and it's proving to be quite good, way more effective than it was early on in the season. And I think Palladino has finally found the balance between a solid defense and actually committing to going forward and attacking and applying overloads. This can be contrasted to Sarri, for example, at Lazio, who it seems if he prioritizes the defense and gets a clean sheet, they have absolutely nothing going forward. And if they do try to attack, they end up conceding a lot. So managers like Sarri haven't found that balance yet, but Palladino, shout out to him, has managed to do so quite impressively. We'll see what they can do in the second leg in the Champions League after the 2-0 loss to Dortmund. That game looked way too easy for Dortmund, by the way. Napoli were vulnerable on set pieces, yet again conceding their 8th penalty of the season. Conceded their 8th penalty of the season earlier in the campaign and now leaking goals on dead balls too. Yes, absolutely a shadow of their former selves, Napoli, when it comes to their defense. And of course, you know, looking at the personnel over there, I do think they need a little bit of a buff at the back because Buongiorno is so moody. And Juan Jesus, of course, who we often praise over here, he still has those moments in him where he's not exactly completely trustworthy. And the Belkama, of course, is brand new and playing in a 3 at the back, you know. So time is expected. I think the season has just been a bit of a rough one for Napoli, and the trend for Conte continues. You can't seem to balance competitions. Why might this be the case? Why can't Napoli balance these competitions? Why can't Conte manage rotation, etc., etc.? We've often heard from players that match days are the times to relax for players who train with Conte, because the training is so intense, and I'm assuming he might have not found the balance between training and balancing 3 competitions, because the rotation isn't an option when so many people are falling injured, and you've got quite an injury prone team, so it's kind of like a match made in hell. Let us know what you think in the chat, Tyson, if you're still there, because I think that perhaps Conte and Napoli's relationship might be coming to an end, and I'm curious to see who Napoli would go after, because they've got quite a nice team, and of course you would assume they're quite ambitious, right? There are quite a few managers who could become available. Imagine Allegri becomes available. That could be a crazy situation. Italiano's an interesting name. Italiano and Napoli could be a fun match. De Zerbi could be an interesting option. Watch this space. Yes, 2 cancelled Napoli goals, and this one of them extremely soft. I am once again very disappointed with VAR, and very disappointed by refereeing and the standard in general in Italy this season. I really think it's given the league a bad rep, man, this season. It's really affected it negatively, and to be honest, I can't remember a time where I was watching football and being so frustrated so consistently, because normally I don't mind a few poor calls, it's part of the game, but nowadays it's relentless. Every game seems to have its drama. It's too much. Yes. So Napoli had actually won their last 4 in Bergamo, so this ended their run, and this was Atalanta's first home win against Napoli since February 2021. Impressive stuff. Well done, Palladino. Well done, Atalanta. Napoli are in 4th with 50 points, while Atalanta are in 7th with 45 points. Massive victory for them. Roma 3, Cremonese 0. An absolute dicking for Nicola, who has somehow kept his job despite Cremonese not winning a football match since the Stone Age and not scoring a goal since, I don't even know, Jesus Christ walked the earth. It's been a while. So Roma took full advantage of a weekend where results elsewhere opened the door, and Roma just walked through it. They climbed into 3rd place, joining Napoli on points. Roma entered the match with an injury list that looked like a full 5-a-side team. They had Dybala, Soulé, Dovbyk, Ferguson and El Shaarawy all out. Hermoso pulled up in the warm-up, forcing Ghilardi to start, while Cremonese arrived winless since early December. That's the exact date, if you don't want to go with what I said earlier, and lost Paero to a knee injury right after the restart. So Roma this game lined up with Svilar in goal, a 3-4-2-1 formation with Mancini, Indica and Ghilardi at the back, Celik on the right, Wesley on the left, Kone and Brian Cristante in midfield. This was one of those games where Brian Cristante just exploded into life. Zaragoza and Pellegrini playing off the bald head of Malin. For Cremonese, it was a 3-5-2 formation with Audero in goal, Luperto, Fiorino and Terracciano at the back, with Zerbin on the right, Pezzella on the left, Pagero, Male and Torsby in the middle, with Bonazzoli and Sanabria partnering each other up front. The first half had warning signs for Cremonese. Luperto almost scored an own goal, skimming a header off the far post. Mancini rattled the bar and Pellegrini's acrobatic follow-up was denied by Pezzella, but Roma still went into halftime frustrated and level. After the break, Gasperini shifted Roma into a 4-2-3-1 formation, Allegri take note, and the pressure finally turned into goals. In the 59th minute, Pellegrini's corner was whipped into the near post and Brian Cristante rose and glanced in the open. His 350th Serie A appearance, marked with a textbook Brian Cristante header. Absolutely buzzing for him. He's not the flashiest player and he's definitely had his fair share of criticism, but he continuously and constantly remains selected by his managers. Managers will always choose to play Brian Cristante, which is just who just goes to show that he is a perfect professional. You know, you can imagine that this guy training on the daily basis is doing everything perfectly. So yes, Roma started to suffocate Cremonese. This is the Atalanta press, right? It's like you've got a stubborn pimple and you're just popping it from, it's getting whiter and whiter and whiter, and it just fucking pops all over your mirror. That's how Gasperini plays football. Milan forced Audero into 2 saves. Celik fired low from 6 yards, and Indica kept popping up in the box like a second striker. That's also classic Gasperini. And 77 minutes in, Roma doubled their lead from another set piece. That is what football has become, right? Set pieces. Many of these managers utilizing them successfully, to be honest with you. So yes, he showed up for a set piece, Indica, and he, where the hell is it? Yes, El Ainawi's corner was flicked on by Cristante with a clever heel touch, and Indica arrived unmarked to sweep home from close range. Cremonese, not Cristante, even though he's the man of the moment. Cremonese's only real opening came when Vardy broke the offside trap, but Zvilar rushed out and smothered him. Yeah. 86 minutes in, Roma sealed it. It was Milan who was crowded out inside the area, but the ball spilled loose and Pisilli pounced with a first-time finish into the bottom corner. Venturino almost made it 4, his curler shaving the top corner paint, and Roma closed out the match calmly. They controlled the tempo, they kept that clean sheet that keeps them as Serie A's stingiest defense. More on that statistic. It is actually Roma who have, yes, the best defense in the league, the stingiest, with 16 goals conceded only. That's absolutely incredible. In second, you've got Milan, who have conceded only 20 goals. And that just goes to show, right, that Milan are doing something right. The foundation is good, and it seems to be that this game against Parma has really shifted the narrative with Milan, and all of a sudden now chaos has ensued, and I really don't think it's warranted. Like, a top 4 was the objective all along. Even though it sounds like a joke when Allegri saying it and it sounds tongue-in-cheek, top 4 was actually the objective, because when you don't qualify for Champions League, the objective is get Champions League qualification at all costs. Make it happen. But yeah. Somehow these rumors persist. Yes. Cristante, goal and assist. He dominated set pieces. 350th club appearance. One of his best games this season. I think his best game this season, actually, no need to say one of. So he definitely deserves a shout out. Shout out to Gasperini, who adapted, who keeps doing this little dance at the end with the Roma fans. It looks really, it looks like they're really enjoying him over there, despite once again them being a little bit cautious with the appointment of Gasperini, because Ranieri himself said that he isn't simpatico as a person, which means he isn't charismatic. He's not a nice guy. He actually said this while unveiling him, crazy like. But yes, nice to see that the fans have taken a liking to him. And on the other hand, on the other side, you've got Cremonese, right? Lowly Cremonese, who are flirting with relegation right now. They've gone down to 17th. They've only got 24 points. They're actually joined with Lecce in 18th, who also have 24 points. Now, if you had to ask me who I'm going to back, if it's Cremonese or Lecce, I'm always going to pick Lecce, because they've done it season after season in Serie A last year, only surviving by 1 point after beating Lazio on the final day. So things are looking a little bit bleak, and I would not be surprised if Davide Nicola were to get the sack, even though he did have Cremonese performing so well at the start of the season, of course, but now it's bleak. You know, they haven't won a game since December 7th, and the last 5 they've drawn once and lost 4. That's terrible. It's a mess, absolute mess for them. They need to do better. All right, Nate, let's make sure we are aligned. What is the next game on your list? Cagliari and Lazio. Fantastic. What a boring game.
List supplied by Matt.
Oh yes, list supplied by Matt. Thank you very much. We have Cagliari 0, Lazio 0. Cagliari coming off a shocking home loss to Lecce, who they were missing Belotti, Borelli, Deola, Gaetano and Felici. Lazio were coming off a home loss to Atalanta. They missed Pedro, Gigo, Lazzari, Fuentes, and Bazic. Zaccagni started, but he was not 100%, and boy, he didn't look 100% either. For Lazio, it was Provedel in goal in a 4 at the back formation, 4-3-3, of course, classic Sarri, with Pellegrini on the left, Marsic on the right, with Profstgaard and Romagnoli at the back. Belayan, Rovella and Taylor made the midfield 3 with Isaacson and Zaccagni on the flanks, and Daniel Maldini once again starting as a striker. Caprile was in goal for Cagliari, who seemed to mirror formations more often than not. This time they went for a 4-4-2, opting for a 4 at the back against Sarri's 4 at the back. Obert, Dossena, Jeremina and Ze Pedro were at the back, with Suleiman on the right and Palestra on the left. Mazzitelli and Adopo in the middle, with Esposito and Kilic starting together up front. Cagliari actually had more chances in the first half. Ze Pedro's header clipped the post. Adopo and Esposito missed 2 very good chances. I thought Adopo had scored, to be honest, with his header. Lazio mainly attacked down the right flank via Isaacson and Marisic, but their crosses failed. I also noticed that Palestra was absolutely cooking Pellegrini on that side. He was killing him, man. In the second half, Lazio dominated possession. Cagliari sat deep and they countered. Cagliari had a few chances once again, with Idrissi having a low-driven shot from a distance saved, and Palestra scoring, but it being ruled out for offside. There was some late drama as Jeremina was sent off for a second yellow. The referee looked really confused over here. He first pointed to the spot, then pointed just outside the area. Then he seemed to get influenced by the Lazio players, and he brandished a second yellow card to Mina to send him off. Another strange refereeing display, to be honest with you, over here. Just the lack of confidence in his decisions. The fact that he pointed to the spot and then pointed down is something that I've never seen from a referee at this level before. So, interesting to see that. From this set piece, Lazio actually got what I believe was their first shot on target through Cataldi. Caprile had to save it. He forced him into a really good save, to be honest. And then the rebound was narrowly missed. There were 2 injuries. Cagliari had Mazzitelli, who was forced off with a calf issue, and Rovella was forced off after an awkward fall for Lazio. Apparently, turns out he fractured his collarbone, which is absolutely devastating for them. They've just got him back. So Lazio had more possession but did very little with it until Mina got sent off, but then too little too late. Cagliari were compact and they were effective on the break. So I think at this point for Lazio, to be honest with you, they're not going to get relegated. They're not going to qualify for Europe. I think they should, first of all, figure out if Sarri is going to stay on. And if Sarri is going to stay on, continue with him from now and have him test out a few players, There's no need. You've got the likes of Ratkov, who's just come in, just play him. Why not? What's the point of not? You've got Dia, who's off form, play him. Maybe he'll get you a few goals. You know what I mean? He can do well. I think that's one of the reasons maybe why Proftsgaard is playing as well, at the back, just to integrate him a little bit more, to get him used to this level. I think with Lazio as well, it's clear to see that Taylor is a good player, so I think they should persist with him and keep playing him, and I think we'll see good things from him next season. While Daniel Maldini, I'm sorry, is not a striker, and I've said this before, he would do much better with a target man to play off of. Yeah, I think that him being the guy to play off of is not exactly ideal, despite not playing terribly. But I want to see more of Ratkov, to be honest, who came on for Maldini. I think Ratkov can actually do decent things, to be honest. We'll see. I think at the moment, many of these clubs in Italy kind of stand in awkward positions. We have Roma and Milan and Juve, who all have kind of iffy situations with their management. Granted, things are looking good for Roma, but let's not forget that the Friedkins were really causing a lot of chat before the whole Ranieri appointment last season. I think they've settled and they've actually won many of the supporters over. But there's instability all around in the league. Torino are a disaster. Lazio are an absolute mess. Torino and Lazio, to be honest, are the worst of the lot, I believe. And it's funny to see that Baroni, by the way, who was sacked, went from Lazio under Lotito to Torino under Cairo. Talk about a sadistic man. I mean, no shit, he got sacked twice in a row. You know, that's career suicide over there, going from Lotito to Cairo. Absolutely mental on his behalf. So we'll see if he manages to get a job in the future. I think he should be able to. I mean, he'll probably be managing a Cremonese sooner rather than later. I think for Lazio, just a few notes on them. Of course, Pellegrini is quite limited going forward. I think this game, with him getting cooked by Palestra all game, honestly, why not play Nuno Tavares? It's not like he's offering you defensive solidity. But other than that, I think we can move away from this 0-0. The Cagliari continue to prove that they are a very tough side to play in their stadium, and anywhere, to be honest, they are a very good and well-drilled team. For standings, we have Lazio in 10th, bang in the middle, not getting Europe, not getting relegated, right? 34 points, while Cagliari are in 13th with 29 points. Fiorentina against Pisa. This is a game which saw Fiorentina winning, but of course it wasn't very convincing, and to be honest, they almost bottled it at the end. We'll get into it very soon. Fiorentina 1, Pisa 0. Here it is. So Fiorentina were coming off a surprising 2-1 victory over Como and a midweek Conference League win, beating Jagiellonia 3-0. Jagiellonia. Who the fuck are Jagiellonia? Here they missed Goodmanson, Mandragora, Lamptey and Sabiri. How many more patrons before Nate gets a mic? Asks Alan. That's a fantastic question. Quite a few more. Alan, mics are super expensive. I'm taking the piss. We've got what do you call that piece of technology that the mic connects to? The box, the mixer, yeah. So our mixer, it would actually be a mixer that we would need, because we've got a mixer that only takes 2 microphones, so we would need a new one that takes more. Eventually, we would like to get one, though, because you can contribute well, Nathan. You have a good sense of humor. You definitely can. We need to get you a soundboard. That's the most important thing, actually.
I don't think you want a soundboard.
We do. We most definitely do, Nate. So Pisa were coming off a 2-1 loss to Milan. They missed Semper, Scuffe, Denoon and Vural. The previous encounter between these two sides was actually a 0-0. So it was De Gea in goal for Fiorentina in their 4-3-3 formation, with Parisi, Ranieri, Pongracic and Dodo at the back, Brescianini, Fagioli and Endur in the middle, with Solomon on the left, Harrison on the right and Keane playing up front. For Pisa, it was Nicholas in goal with Cannistrelli, Caracciolo and Bozinov at the back. Touré on the right, Angori on the left, with Marin and Loyola in the middle, Moreo and Samuel Illing Jr. playing off the shoulders of Stojkovic. Yes, nice to see Illing Jr. back, by the way, after the wasted season in the Premier League, man. Hate when young players go to the Premier League from Italy. So in the 13th minute, Keane opened the scoring after Ndu's shot was miscleared by Cannistrelli, very unfortunately, leaving Keane unmarked and able to tap in from close range. Keane celebrated extremely cockily. He did his little dance, then he did that meme, the Kevin Hart, where you like, you know? And then a few moments later went on to miss a free header. He wasn't dancing then. There was some late drama in this match, which saw Dodo crucially intercept a ball which would have led to an open net. Fazzini rounded the goalkeeper and missed, and then Cannistrelli had a chance at the end for a late equalizer. Granted, he was at a weird angle, but he was right in front of the goalkeeper. He tried to go for power, but he hit it way too high. He leaned back and he ended up skying the shot and wasting the opportunity. Fiorentina dominated the first half. They had 67% ball possession and 9 shots to Pisa's 1. I think Endur has continued to show growth this season. He's stepped up. He was composed. He was effective, and he was very present in Fiorentina's midfield. And he's growing in size too. It seems he's being very involved recently. His vision and link-up play helped to control the game, and he was directly involved in the build-up to Keane's goal. Fiorentina are now. Fiorentina's now. Wait, I'm trying to understand what Matthew wrote over here. Yes. Keane scored 3-3. However, very rookie mistake from a free header. Yes, absolutely. That's the one I was talking about. But nice to see Keane scoring again. It's good for Fiorentina, good for Keane, and good for the Italian national team, who right now have a little bit of a peculiar situation with the strikers, because the best one is playing for a team that no one knows. Al-Addisa. Of course, it is Retegui. Keane has hit. Okay, we've killed Nathan. Yeah. Keane, of course, is playing for a relegation side at the moment and really struggling and having moments where he just looks completely uncreative. He just looks like he can't improvise in certain moments, which is very disappointing. And then you've got a very exciting striker in Pio Esposito for Inter, who's playing well, and I think right now he might be the favourite to get that starting spot, to be honest with you, if it were me at least. So Ranieri once again influenced the game positively. I thought his attitude was good. I think he had a really good tackle at one moment with a slight tackle. I thought he was easing off the man a little bit too much, but then he lunged in and won the ball and completely stopped the attack. He played quite a decent game. Pisa had 0 shots on target. I think, personally, so far, they've got worse since sacking Gilardino, and I'm pretty sure Matthew would agree with me. Let me know in the comments, Matt, if you agree with me. He's currently laughing at you, Nate. Currently, Pisa are 9 points off of safety in 19th with 15 points, and things are getting really bad down there as the final sprint of the Serie A season approaches. Fiorentina, of course, have jumped to 16th with 24 points, and things are looking up. And to be honest, man, it just feels the vibe is different. At the end of the game, players were laughing and dancing with the fans. The mood was good, and it's not like they completely blew Pisa out of the park. I mean, necessarily could have easily spoiled the party at the end of the game. It had this shot gone on target, but it's nice to see this. It's good to see this unity, and it's something that Fiorentina have been lacking. And I think right now it can be compared to Juventus, funnily enough. I think Juve right now are playing with poor morale, and you get to see, man, a team that... So let me just fact check the score one moment, because Juventus have actually beat Napoli 3-0. The same group of players with the same manager beat Napoli 3-0. And it's the same group who conceded 5 to Galatasaray, who conceded 3 to Inter and lost that game, who drew to Lazio, who lost 3-0 to Atalanta in the Coppa Italia. So confidence is a massive, massive, massive factor in football. Confidence and just your mentality and your belief, you know. I think Fiorentina are improving on that regard, and you can see it on the pitch, man. Some players are actually playing, they're showing a bit, they're flexing on the pitch, they're strutting their stuff, you know. I love football. Football imitates life. Football is all about moments, man. Football is a beautiful fucking game, and the referees will not ruin it for me. They will not. I'll keep watching. Yeah. What's next, Nate?
On my end, I have
Genoa, Torino. Let's find that one. Yes, here it is. Genoa, Torino. Much faster and much smoother, this one. Genoa and Torino. Now, Genoa, absolutely. Speaking of strutting your stuff and a new manager bounce, life right now in Genoa is good. The oldest team in Italy. A team that was absolutely dominant in the birth of Italian football. Genoa, snapped their winless run in emphatic fashion at the Marassi, beating Torino 3-0 and dragging Torino into deep trouble and forcing Marco Baroni into the job market, getting him sacked, of course. Now, D'Aversa has been appointed to replace him, and we will be doing a little bit of a bio on D'Aversa for those of you who don't know who he is and what he has done with Parma, but he's quite a respected manager in Italy, so we will cover him. The game started quite cagey, but Genoa immediately... Wait. Lineup reads. Bilo was in goal for Genoa in their 3-5-2 formation. It was Marcandalli, Ostegard and Vasquez at the back, with Ellertson on the right and Norton Cuffy on the left, or as Matty calls him, Norton Chuffy. Baldanzi, Frendrup and Malinowski were in the middle, with Ekuban and Colombo partnering up front. For Torino, it was Paleari in goal with Ebosse, Maripan and Cocco at the back, Lazaro on the right, Obrador on the left with Gneitis, Ilkan and Vlasic in the middle, Kulenovic and Simeone up front. So yes, the game did start cagey. It was Genoa who looked sharper down the right flank. Their opener arrived in the 22nd minute when Ekuban got lucky off a ricochet of Ebosse. He slipped into the box, he forced a save out of Paleari, and Norton Cuffy crashed on to the rebound and buried it home from the middle of the area. Torino thought they were back in it around 40 minutes in when they screamed for a penalty, convinced that Ekuban had handled the ball from a corner after a long VAR check. So there was a VAR check, actually nothing was given. Now to me that looked like a clear handball. Seconds later, Genoa punished them again. Baldanzi cut in from the right. His shot was parried into the path of Ekuban and the striker tapped in at point blank range to make it 2-0. Lovely bit of skill from Baldanzi. We know what he can do, and this is why I hate when players like this who go from who are thriving at a team like Empoli decide to go to a team like Roma, where you're going to get much fewer minutes and you're going to be up against low blocks where you can't really show what you can do. Baldanzi's strength especially is in transition, and we really saw him thrive over here. He was phenomenal. Then came the moment that killed Torino's game plan. Deep into the first half stoppage time, Ilkan flew into a lunge on Colombo and midfield studs up high on the calf, and the referee showed a straight red, Torino's first sending off of the season, and Baroni looked absolutely stunned as his side went down to 10 men. Genoa controlled possession with patience. Torino offered almost nothing going forward, just one half chance for Simeone before he was subbed, and the match ended decisively in the 83rd minute when Pedersen, who had just come on, slipped and lost the ball to Messias, who burst in one-on-one and slid it past Paleari to seal the 3-0 victory. Genoa and Torino swapped places in the table after the match, now level on points, 27 points, but moving in completely opposite directions. Highs and lows, my brothers, highs and lows. The right flank won the game here. Norton Cuffy, Baldanzi and Ekuban repeatedly overloaded Ebosse's side, and both opening goals came from parries in that channel. Now, speaking of parries, I do believe that Paleari needs to do better. You cannot parry the ball into the box. You cannot parry the ball right in front of you. 2 goals came like this, and it eventually cost Torino the game and Baroni his job. Now, I'm not saying that this is the only thing that cost them the game, because Baroni clearly has a problem setting up teams in defense. They commit too much going forward, and they are the team who has actually conceded the most goals in Serie A this season, having conceded a whopping 47 goals in 26 games. This was something he was criticized for with Lazio, his ability to get spanked, and he has shown that he is very capable of getting spanked with Torino too. The red card changed everything. I think Ilkan's lunge was reckless and unnecessary. It happened right after a foul wasn't given to Torino, and he ended up lashing out, and it cost them the game, I think, to be honest. It's not like they were going to do anything, but that was a massive problem for them. I think that Genoa have a good thing going right now, and we did say, Matt and I, that Genoa have a very interesting team, despite not really, they didn't spend a cent in the summer, and they still managed to put together quite a decent team. And I think De Rossi, this is a good place for him to experiment and to grow as a manager, and I think he's showing good things, man, and he's got a fucking super fan base, man. You know, it's so authentic, man. And this is what I love about Italian football specifically. Many people ask me, why do you like Italian football? If you love football, shouldn't you watch the greatest football in the world, which is the Premier League? No, I shouldn't, because it's not as authentic from my view. The Serie A has 10, 15 euro tickets to some games. You go there and it's all locals. It's locals singing songs and waving flags and throwing fireworks, and fucking in summer you've got the ultras shirtless, you know, enjoying a beer and just taking it all in, you know. The Premier League right now, man, it's a tourist attraction, football over there. Many of the working class citizens of most clubs can't even attend these games. They can't even afford to attend them regularly, you know. It's been sold out in the Premier League, quite frankly, football. And I feel like in Italy this hasn't happened yet, although we did see some strange things, like I didn't even mention French Montana going onto the pitch and singing before the Juve game. Now, Nate, when was the last time you heard the name French Montana? You can shout the answer. Do you know who French Montana is? The rapper, yeah. 2012. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. I haven't heard the name French Montana in years, personally, as well. I'm talking maybe 4 years, 5 years. So it was a little bit strange how Juventus opted for French Montana to open the factory. Sure, go for it, 'cause 2012 is a bit of a stretch, bro. But yeah. Nice to see Genoa doing well. Yes, it's always a fantastic sight. Now, we need a Sampdoria back in Serie A for that heated rivalry. Are any of your girlfriends watching that show, Heated Rivalry? My girlfriend's obsessed, personally. 2017 was the last time Nathan heard of him. Yes. Okay, so it is Torino in 15th place with 27 points and Genoa in 14th with 27 points. Of course, as I said before, they have overtaken each other. But now let's do a little bit of a deep dive on D'Aversa, the new man in charge of Torino. While I wouldn't get too excited because Torino's investment strategy and ownership situation are not the most exciting. They've got this stingy Cairo over there who doesn't seem keen on investing. But D'Aversa is known for his structure, his compact mid-blocks, and squeezing points out of squads with limited talent. Seems perfect. He built Parma's identity on vertical transitions and clear automatisms, earning back-to-back promotions before returning for a second spell. His teams aren't glamorous whatsoever, but they are, of course, well-drilled and super organized. They defend with numbers and attack with quick runners and often rely on wide overloads and second ball aggression. So if we have a look at Torino's team over here, I think a manager like this might actually suit them more than Marco Baroni, because they have a few bodies who are capable of defending, and then the likes of Lazaro, who can carry the ball forward, and Vlasic, and maybe Simeone as well, who can do well in transition. And I'm curious to see how Prati can slot in over there, because I think he was playing a similar role with Cagliari. And let's not forget as well that they've got the likes of Anjorin and Tameze and Casadei and Ilic as well, who might be useful for this, who have all kind of been phased out as well. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. D'Aversa also brings quite a lot of volatility about him, because he's been sacked multiple times and his spell at Lecce ended with that infamous touchline headbutt on none other than Thomas Henry. Do you remember Thomas Henry? He was a man who was also attacked by Zanetti. Maybe it's not all D'Aversa's fault over here if Zanetti's shaking him and screaming at him and swearing at him as well. Perhaps Thomas Henry had an attitude issue. But yes, no manager should be headbutting players. And I think only in Italy will a manager who has headbutted a player on the pitch a few seasons ago manage to get a job so soon after. Yeah. So Torino have pulled the trigger, and I think we should expect a return to a compact 4-3-3 or a 4-3-1-2, much tighter distances between the lines, faster transitions, and fewer slow build-ups. A clearer role for Vlasic, who I think probably was one of the few players who actually did well for Baroni, but I think we'll see him more involved as the build-up won't be as slow. It'll be much more direct and much faster. And that will be the primary creative outlet most likely. And yes, I think there might also be a revival for Duvan, Zapata and Simeone, who right now look more isolated than ever before. Yes, so very excited to see D'Aversa back in Serie A. Who is next, brother?
Sassuolo Verona.
Sassuolo. Hellas Verona, an absolute spanking that one was.
Tyson told you, don't worry, Jake. I'm pretty sure I didn't drop anything too worrisome in the video.
Tyson. Don't worry, Jake. I'm pretty sure I didn't drop anything too worrisome in the video. We'll have a look. Don't worry, Tyson. Whatever it is, we'll post it right away. No problem. So Sassuolo were coming off a 2-1 victory over Udinese. They missed Pierangelo, Kande, Matic, Muharemovic and Boloka, while Hellas Verona got their 15th loss of the season, coming off a 2-1 loss to Parma. They missed Valentini, Bernadette, Lovric, Gagliardini, Belgali, Akpa Akpro, Orban, Serdar and Lirola. The previous encounter between these two sides was also a 1-0 victory for Sassuolo. Yes, so they have really improved since then. Or Hellas have got worse, which I suspect might be the case as well. Montepò was in goal for Hellas Verona with Edmundson, Nelson and Bella Kocap at the back in their 3-5-2 formation. Bradaric on the right, Freze on the left, with Harawi, Al-Musrati and Niasse as the midfield three, or rather the midfield free of talent. Bowie and Sar partnered each other up front. For Sassuolo, the very talented Sassuolo, it was a 4-3-3 formation which saw Muric in goal, Garcia as the left back, Woyo Koulibaly as the right back, the beautiful Jay it says and Valukovic as a centre back partnership, Kone, Lipani and Tordsvet as the midfield three, Lorionte on the left, Berardi on the right and Pinamonti up front. Keep it up, Jake, Allen says. I'll have to catch up with this tomorrow as household stuff takes up my attention. Greetings from up north tonight. We are all a bit Norwegian. Forza Jens Petter Hauge. I'm not so sure about that, Alan. Good luck with your stuff, but I do hope Inter get as far as the final in the Champions League to keep that schedule nice and packed. Maybe, you don't know, man. Maybe you don't know. You know, maybe they drop a few points in the league. Wishful thinking. And right now, to be honest, I've lost all hope. And I'm drinking beer on Tuesdays now. That's how life's going for me. Becoming an alcoholic, yeah, like that. Nathan here doesn't drink, guys.
1 year sober.
Yeah, he's been 1 year sober, but he drinks how many monsters a day? One monster a day. Keeps the doctor away. In the 40th minute, Sassuolo took the lead after a mistake from Bella Kocap. It sparked a quick transition which was finished by Pinamonti, whose shot took a slight deflection on its way past Montepò. In the 45th minute, Nias fouled Berardi in the box. Montepò saved the penalty, but Berardi reacted quickest to convert the rebound and double the advantage. In the 62nd minute, Hellas Verona overcommitted from a corner with 7 players forward. Sassuolo clear long to Lauriante, who took a lovely touch to control the ball and then played in Berardi behind, and the captain finished calmly in a 1-on-1. Absolutely stunning stuff. I love Berardi. We don't get provincial players like this anymore. Al-Musrati was shown a second yellow for a late challenge in the 85th minute, leaving Hellas Verona down to 10 men and effectively ending the contest even though it had ended beforehand. Hellas Verona, 9 injuries, caretaker managers, a group of error-prone players on the pitch. In the second half, it looked like no one wanted to be there, no spirit and no fight, just a manager and 11 who are below average quality. And it's not looking very good for them whatsoever. And it's a shame the season that we get 3 patrons who support Hellas Verona is the season they go down against all odds, surviving season after season after season. It looked like absolutely nothing could relegate these guys, and they could always pull something out of the January window or their ass to stay up. And this time they couldn't do it this season. It seems to be a lost cause. I'm not quite sure what the plan is when you sack your manager and just keep an interim manager, like a manager who was already there. What's the point? You know, if you're gonna sack your manager, bring in someone who can actually give you a bounce, someone who can actually improve you, not someone who was literally the understudy of the man you sacked. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Sassuolo's front three was way too much for Hellas Verona. Their front three is one of the best front threes in the league. Don't at me. It wasn't even a blitz of attacks. It was just attacks orchestrated at the right moment. Very clever. Grosso has really grown as a manager as well. He's really impressing me in Serie A, which is no easy feat, man. For a young manager who's managed in League One and in Serie B. Yeah, Berardi, this was his 400th appearance. And since coming back from injury on the 25th of January, coming on against Cremonese, Sassuolo have won 4 out of 5 and he's scored 3. 14 years of Berardi at Sassuolo. This is another thing I love about the league. You get these players, these heroes, these provincial kings, these amazing stories, you know, that you don't really get in England anymore because there's no... You know, and you have this guy, he's a cult hero at Sassuolo who don't even have a massive fan base. He's been performing for 14 years for like 6 people. That's beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. Daniel says, great job, Jake, you're a legend. Although I wish I was aware of why Matt wasn't there as I slagged him off on WhatsApp and now I feel like an arsehole. I'll watch in full later. Yes, if you're wondering why Matt's not here, he's had a bit of a situation with his cat. I hope his cat gets well soon. Shout out Parker, get well soon Parker. Comment get well soon Parker down below if you've made it this far. Matt is a very sensitive man and this has affected him dearly. Of course, as it would most people, I think. There's nothing worse than a sick pet, man. You feel so helpless. Terrible. If he gets sick, he can deal with it. He can take a Panadol. Yes, where do they stand? Sassuolo right now stand in 9th place, overachieving, performing beautifully, knocking on Bologna's door. Just 1 point actually behind Bologna. Sassuolo have 35 points, winning 10 matches, drawing 5 and losing 11. While Hellas Verona sit dead last in 20th with 15 points, having won only 2 games, having scored 19 goals and conceded 46. They have drawn as many games as Milan. Brother, what's next?
It's probably the team that you got confused with that was at your end of your list.
Oh, so we're on the last game?
Yes.
Oh, time flies when you're in hell. So the last one, to be honest, I can't even find my notes for it, so I'll have to improvise. Yeah. No problem. So this one was, of course, we're talking about Bologna Udinese. Now, Bologna Udinese was a game that was decided by a controversial penalty. Let's actually do the lineups first. Of course, we have Skorupski in goal for Bologna. It was a 4-3-3 formation with João Mario, Vitic Lukumi and Miranda at the back, Som, Freuler and Pobega in the middle with Orsolini on the right, Rowe on the left and Castro up front. For Udinese, it was Okoye in goal, had a pretty good game. Sole, Kabasele and Christensen at the back with Zamura on the left, Ezibua on the right, Ata, Karlstrom and Piotrowski in the middle with Buxa and Zaniolo up front. Now in this game, they absolutely butchered Zaniolo. Zaniolo was just getting clapped he was getting. I felt bad for him. Yeah, he got clapped so aggressively that Italiano actually praised him at the end and said that the national team could use a player like him. Matty said, get well soon, Parker. He's the only one who said it. That's hilarious. Shout out, Matt. You're the man, Matt. I miss you, bro. So this game was decided by a penalty that was originally given as a free kick, and I'm not quite sure why it was given as a penalty. Now, I think the deciding factor was that the foul happened. The referee thought the foul happened on the right foot of the victim, but it actually made contact with the left foot of the victim, which was slightly behind the line in the box. Controversial penalty once again, and Bernardeschi stepped up and took it absolutely brilliantly. He just shot it with power to the left, sending Okoye the wrong way, and that would prove to be enough for Bologna to go through. Udinese did not create much. In fact, they had 0 big chances, and the Bologna goalkeeper was only forced into 3 saves, and none of them were really, really complicated. Of course, Skorupski. Shout out to Zamora, who had a lovely goal line clearance, and shout out to Soler, who was forced off with an injury early on. But nice to see Bologna winning a game, because it feels like it's been. It had been a little bit rough for them. Of course, they lost to Fiorentina, they lost to Genoa, they lost to Milan, they lost to Parma, they lost to Lazio. Thankfully, they played Torino, so that means they could win a game. And of course, they got a victory against Udinese now. So yes, massive for them. They are in 8th with 36 points, while Udinese find themselves in 11th with 32 points. Now, actually, I should probably give you a little bit of a Coppa Italia update, as Como play Inter and Lazio play Atalanta coming up. Actually, we have some time. This is on the 3rd of March. Como Inter is going to be an exciting game. I'm sure Fabregas is licking his lips and rubbing his hands at this one, because he's going to want a trophy, while Inter, on the other hand, might be looking for that double, and they might actually, prioritize this competition right now. It's been a while since they won the double. Lazio are in a bit of a situation right now, because the fans are actually boycotting the stadium. They're not going to the games, and this is the biggest game of their season in the semi-finals against Atalanta, and it's actually a shot for them to win a trophy and to really redeem themselves after a terrible season. And they've got the tools for the job. They have a great manager in Sarri who can totally get this done. So let's hope that the fans maybe do turn out. They can put aside their protest and prioritize the well-being of the team for a moment. It's not all about the owner. Remember, at the end of the day, the owner owns your club. Yes, it's terrible, but you have to support your club. Your club is in a semi-final. If your club is 10th in the league, don't go to the stadium, whatever. Fuck it, if you're unhappy with the management. But when you're in a semi-final, I think you need to support your boys. You can't have Atalanta fans filling out the Olimpico. It would be a disaster. Yeah, on the European front, we've got Champions League football taking place today and tomorrow, of course, with Inter and Juve in action, of course, etc., etc. Do stay tuned for that. Keep an eye on it. Of course, Italian teams in the Champions League have not been performing very well and have actually been quite embarrassing. But we can hope for a turnaround, because in the Champions League these things happen. Games are never truly over until the fat lady sings. And the last I checked, the fat lady wasn't singing yet. She was quiet. But anyway, Nathan, I believe we have our patron segment right now. Let's hear from our boy Tyson, who supports Parma, the man with a beautiful combination of beard and hair. Look at that. Look at that. He's got a perfect hairline and an incredible Vanya Milinkovic-Savic-esque beard. I am so envious. Beautiful, 10 on 10. I love it. Yeah. God has his favorites, huh? But anyway, let's have a look at this. Let's make sure the volume is up. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, Spotheads? It's Tyson T jumping on to give you guys a bit of Parma fan perspective for this point of the season. So obviously great result at the weekend. Loved getting a victory away from home, especially, against a team that's battling, for the top of the league. Overall, that's, 3 wins in a row, which is not something I expected to see very often this year. But 4, 3, and 3 in our last 10. So it's a longer trend of some positive results. But again, like winning at Milan, I had that at maybe, 5% chance of that happening. I really didn't expect it. Thrilled about the run that they're on right now. But I would say overall, I'm still very conflicted on Cuesta. It's just tough to watch every week. I don't like the style. it is appropriate against teams like Milan and teams that, there's a big talent disparity. But my issue is, like, we also play that against the bottom half teams and make every single match a nail biter. I mean, there's not a ton of teams that, Parma's going to run all over and out talent, but, it's certainly more, than they do. But, it's kind of where we're at right now. The objective for this season is honestly just to stay up. We are 8 points off of the, magic number of 40. Probably safe at, 37 or 38 though, based on, the last few seasons. But the big opportunities in front of us, the upcoming matches are against the 13th place team, 16th place team, 15th, and 17th place teams. So if we can't pick up, at least 6 more points out of that, that's insane, and would be, a disaster. But I'm feeling better based on, the recent run of results. They seem to be picking up a little bit of confidence. The one thing that still concerns me is the complete lack of open play goals. We've had like 2 open play goals in our last 10 games, I think. I'd have to check again to be positive on that, but they were against Verona, so another team that's down there scrapping with us. So it's not like we're scoring open play goals against great teams. Sorry to the new Verona guys in the chat. We're kind of shit too though, so don't feel bad. But as far as, finishing out this season, just need to stay up, honestly. It'd be nice to keep on, the winning run, get as high as we can in the table, see if you can get up to 10th or something like that. That would be an honorable finish for the talent composition of the squad. But going forward, it's probably going to be Cuesta again next year. And that's when I think he'll actually need to prove it. Because, going forward, we need some permanent attacking talent. We've brought in, several guys on loans, which is fine for, your objective of just trying to stay up. But next year we should be shooting for staying out of the drop zone entirely. So, I'd like to see investment in the squad. We sold all of our attacking talent and some significant midfield talent in Somme last summer. Didn't bring much in. We'll see if that guy whose ACL blew immediately when he stepped off the plane is any good next year, I guess. But for now, good enough. We'll see what happens for the rest of the season. But hope you guys are all doing well, and look forward to hearing the pod. Take care.
You're the man, Tyson. Shout out to Sienna, the beautiful princess. We can hear her shouting in the background. Lovely to hear your voice. Tyson, it is I don't blame you for feeling the way you do about Parma and the way they play. Of course, it's tough to prioritize results and beautiful football and pragmatism, and just being smart has become a bit of a trend in football recently. It's almost like people want guaranteed situations, packing the box, playing for set pieces. These things are, high probability goal scoring situations, and Cuesta is a statsman, and it shows because he prioritizes them and he doesn't risk much. The good news is that he's 30. The bad news is that he's making international headlines, to be honest with you, because I think that this could be an exciting project. Like you mentioned, Friggin, for example, was meant to be quite a highly rated striker, a striker who's capable of scoring goals, and we, of course, haven't seen him because, as you said, from coming off the plane, he blew his ACL. So So excited to see him next season. And then when you look at Parma all round, man, they have some players who are very, very capable and very talented, and I love the way they play. And I think right now, after a season like this, you might be able to sacrifice a few players for a decent profit, and like that continue to build something good. If the project is if they're intelligent with their expenditure, they could eventually end up doing something like Atalanta are doing. You know what I mean? With a young manager who's growing and a bunch of young players who are only appreciating in value. I would imagine, for example, Pellegrino to get sold for a decent price. You can even make money off of the likes of Suzuki, who's highly rated. Those two guys are assets who need to be sold only for the right price. And if you sell them for too little, I think, and then you end up kicking yourself in the bottom, to be honest. A few interesting stats about Parma, by the way, is that they take 11.5 shots per game, which is 13th in the league, which isn't that bad at all. However, only 2.9 of those per match are on target, which is one of the worst in the league. I believe only 2 teams have actually done worse. So thank you very much, Tyson, for your take, bro. Loved hearing from you. Drop your beard and hair routine in the comments. And yes, guys, this takes us to our last and final segment, the fantasy football. I don't know if you have the screenshots ready. I believe he was here. Yeah, I sent them over on the chat. You can just share this screen, right? Worst case. Yes, our fantasy league has a little bit of an update. Let me open it up over here. As Alan is still first, don't get me wrong, but Matthew has gone up to second. Seneva. Matthew's doing well, huh? The bastard. In fact, it is Katena Choke Me Maxi in first. Okay, no problem. I'll just read them out like this. So Katana Choke Me Maxi is in first. Zanetti's asshole Matthew is in second, of course. Alan is on 1,934 points, while Matt is on 1,918.5 points. David Vavra, enter your mom, has fallen to third with 1,916.5 points. 2 girls, 1 coop is in fourth. US Salernitanga in fifth. Grok Gilmore in sixth. SSC Drees Nuts in seventh. Corto Muzo in eighth. Ardon's Hardon in ninth. Giordano 67 in 10th. Lotito Vendere Vattene in 11th. In 12th, we've got Loco Choco Saul Coco. In 13th, we have Saponara Seaman, that is me. In 14th, Gym City Life, that is Kurt, between me and the love of my life, but Daddy, I love Skamaka. In 15th, I have overtaken my girlfriend at Fantacalcio. I can now live as a man. I can live free of shame now that I am ahead of her. Thankfully, she had a bit of a nightmare in the January market. This week's highest performers were Muhaharemovic Pablo with 83 points, Shikretegi, who keeps doing well every week it seems, 81.5 points, Coppola and Roberts, that's Ben Gibson with 81.5 points. No Hellas Verona players, I assume, in your team, Ben. US Salernitanga had a good week with 75 points. Balohmi, brilliant, 75 points. That's Tyson, actually, we just heard from him, had a very good week. JFC with 74.5 and Grok Gilmore with 73.5, of course, that is Rob. So thank you very much if you have listened this far, and if you have listened this far, I am absolutely terribly sorry. Wait, we have a comment from Tyson. Agree, I think they flip a couple more players. It's just razor thin margins because you absolutely have to hit the nail. You have to hit on the guys you bring in. Yes, absolutely right. You need to invest smartly. But I think Parma have a good scouting department because the players they bring in are always smart signings, man. Always. Like Nicolusi Caviglia was a smart coup. Woyo Koulibaly was a nice signing who I don't know why he even left the league. Wait, no, Woyo Koulibaly was a nice signing, but then you let him go, to be honest. But overall, Pellegrino, for example, great player. El Fege looks exciting as well, to be honest with you. I think your scouting network is actually quite good. But yes, as I was saying, guys, thank you if you've made it this far, if you have tolerated my rant for this far. How long is the episode, Nate?
An hour and 45 minutes.
An hour and 45 minutes. Okay, of me rambling. This is Crazy. I'll put this one on my CV, guys. Thank you very much. See you next week.
If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
In the football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake.
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.